Good afternoon. Welcome to Soundtracks with Birdman. Today, Ian has a free moment to sit and chat with us. We're just going to talk about Indiana Jones. I wasn't sure if this was going to happen until it happened because things everyone knows I'm having some spinal issues. C5 and C6 are messed up and they need to get fixed. That's happening next month after the John Williams concert because priorities, right, Ian? John Williams before living in pain, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's right. So how are you, my friend? What have you been up to? You've been absent for so long.
Busy with personal things, but I'm hopefully going to get back on the horse very, very soon. I'm looking forward to talking about Indiana Jones because I have been in an Indiana Jones film.
You have?
And I'm looking forward to talking about the new score with you, which I know that you're a huge fan of.
Did you listen to it?
I've listened to half of it today.
Uh,
So, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to
yeah.
the firework display at the end.
Hello, David Pinsack. How are you? Good to see you. I'm trying to highlight you. There you go. Okay.
Hi, David.
So
I'm going to take this off because it's roasting.
We haven't discussed what we're going to talk about besides Indiana Jones. Hello, Melissa Harris. How are you? Good to see you.
Hello,
you
Melissa.
were actually in The Last Crusade, were you not?
I was an extra in the, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I played a German soldier in the Berlin scene, along with about 800 other people. I know where I am, but it's just on the screen. It's just a sea of helmets, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Did you get to meet Harrison Ford?
I didn't get to meet him. I saw him. I got very close to him. Got very close to Sean Connery, and Steven Spielberg brushed past me, which was just, seeing Harrison Ford and Sean Connery was brilliant, but just Steven Spielberg was a man. So, yeah, it was great. It was absolutely fantastic. But we'll get to that when we discuss Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yeah. Did you get paid for that, or was that just part of your?
I did. No. It was. I was in the army at the time, and a guy from my unit had seen a little advert in the newspaper saying extras wanted for filming, and he wanted to do it, so he wrote away and then discovered it was Indiana Jones 3 as it was being billed as then. He then spoke to the commanding officer of my unit and said, "Look, can we provide X number of people for this?" And the commanding officer said, "Yeah, go ahead and do it." So about 120 of my unit were extras in that film. And it turns out that all the extras in that scene were all military personnel, British military and American Air Force as well.
Okay.
So,
cool.
Yeah. So
Hello,
it was filmed
Victor.
at Stowe School in Buckinghamshire on July the 22nd, 1988.
Wow.
There we go.
That's pretty awesome. So.
I'm going to take this leather jacket off because it's roasting here. Anyway.
What's the temperature over there right now?
Oh, it's not particularly hot, but it's kind of, they're not, British houses and Scottish houses aren't built for hot weather, so it's just like an oven in here.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so where should we start, Daniel? Should we start with Raiders? When did you go and see it in a theater, or did you catch up on it later on? Or
I was not allowed to watch it in the theater because my mother said it had naughty things in it, like people melting and snakes and all that stuff. I taped it off HBO back in the day, and that was all I had until probably 90 when I got the trilogy pack with Last Crusade and Temple of Doom. I bought a used copy of Temple of Doom from a video store, which was a horrible copy. It had been played to death. But then I in high school, probably 92 or 93, I got everything on Laserdisc, and that was just like sent from heaven. that was nice. That was very nice.
Yeah, I had the trilogy on Laserdisc as well when it came out here in the UK, which I think was after you had it there in the States. But my first, I watched. I didn't see it at the theater. I saw it. I think it was in 1982 when it first came out on video, home video, and and we hired it from the local video rental store, which was also like a DIY shop as well. It just had a little video section at the back, and I was just absolutely blown away by it. And I couldn't, at that point, I didn't know there was going to be another one. I just thought it was just a one-off thing. So, but yeah, I was a fan from that first showing. But that was 1982 that I saw it, and a little square pan and scan picture, not the widescreen one.
The dark days.
The dark days, exactly. And it was only years later that I actually got the score for it. It was. The first Indiana Jones score I had was the Temple of Doom, and it was after I had the score for Temple of Doom that I managed to find a copy of Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, when did you first get the music for it?
I got the soundtrack on cassette in 7th grade, and probably a month later I had Temple of Doom, and I think everyone in my house probably hated me within a few days thereafter, because that was like all I would listen to. Was Raiders of the Temple of Doom for like the longest time.
Yeah.
And Raiders was actually my first soundtrack purchase I ever bought. So if there had been no Raiders, I don't know if I would have fallen into the lifelong obsession with film scores. I mean, maybe I would have, maybe not, but looking back, I think Raiders was like the linchpin for everything.
The catalyst.
Yeah, the catalyst.
Yeah, I mean, my film music kind of journey started probably late 70s, where I got a double album of John Barry, James Bond music, and I also got Star Wars. There was a Star Wars on cassette, and then it kind of expanded from there. So, but when you watched Raiders for the first time, was there a moment in it when you thought, oh, this is fantastic, this is great? Was there a standout moment for you, or was there a moment that you remember from that first time watching?
It's like my best friend lived across the street, and she had all the toys. She got all the toys for Christmas that year, and she told me everything happened because her parents were cool. They took her to see R-rated movies, and so I knew everything that happened in the movie before I watched it because I heard from her. But finally getting to watch it, I felt like I was finally an adult because I got to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. But I was like, wow, he's an archaeologist. I need to be an archaeologist. That's what I want to do. I want to be an archaeologist. I fell in love with the entire thing. Well, I say the entire thing. Up until the end of the desert chase, kind of like after that, I could go back outside and play or something because the action kind of fell off after that until everyone melts at the end. But that's just being a kid. So
yeah.
But no, the whole movie. Now, Temple of Doom, I saw that in the theater. My mother dropped me off at the theater. You go and see it by yourself back in the day. And that one had no slow spots at all. That was until like the very last frame. I was all there. That was like my favorite movie at that time.
Do you know what? I saw Temple of Doom in Northern Ireland. I was visiting a friend out there, and we went to see it in Hillsborough, Northern Ireland. And I remember walking out of the cinema after that film, and my legs were like jelly, just because that final half hour is just incredible. As soon as Indy becomes free of the curse of Kalimar and they're just fighting their way out, it never stops for half an hour. And it was just the most exhilarating thing I think I'd seen at the cinema to that point. It was
our
awesome.
sense probably.
Yeah. I mean, you always remember because again, when that came out, I was 16, so still impressionable, and it was just that's what a cinema visit should be. You just come out with a huge grin on your face, and you have to steady yourself on walls because it was a combination of everything. And I remember when Last Crusade came out, and the blurb on the back by Steven Spielberg of the soundtrack saying they didn't lean on the Indiana Jones march so often as they had done in previous films. And I thought, well, why not? you know, when you play that Indiana Jones, you know, march when he's doing something heroic, that just sends chills up my spine. And they played it perfectly in Temple of Doom, and that's what I loved about that score. And
And
that's
Short
still,
Round's theme too got a lot of play in Temple of Doom.
and it really works well as well.
They do. They play
Yeah,
off each other perfectly.
yeah. So, but Raiders is your favorite score of all the Indiana Jones, isn't it?
According to YouTube every year, that's what I listen to the most.
Okay.
But if you just ask me, like, you know, which one's your favorite? Well, whichever one I'm listening to right now is what I would say. But
Hang on 2 seconds.
yeah,
Yeah.
Victor says his dad went to see it twice. He said it was worth another look, but Victor never got to see it in the theater either. Yeah, I mean, we were still kind of young, you know, back in the day, and it's a pretty hard PG movie.
Yeah.
David
Do you know
says,
what? Sorry, go on.
"Oh, I said." David says, "From the moment Indy takes the idol in Raiders, he was all in." And it's like, yeah, kind of hard to figure
I was
out.
lucky. I was lucky when I saw Raiders because I went in pretty cold. I can't remember having seen clips on TV, or I'd probably seen a trailer at some point, but it was nearly all brand new. I knew it was George Lucas, I knew it was Steven Spielberg, and I knew it was going to be good. That's really all I knew, and I knew it was an old-fashioned adventure. So to get to that stage where you see an Indiana Jones film with knowing very little about it, that's just, I've never relived that moment. It was just, I know I was always amazed by some of the violence in the film as well. Yeah, especially in the truck chase when he gets shot in the arm and the blood
Yeah,
sprays on the windscreen, and then the German gets in and he's punching him in the wound on his arm. I was thinking, this is a family adventure film. This is really kind of, you know, quite brutal, and I love that about it. And just little details during that truck chase as well, where they're fighting over the accelerator and the brake, and the truck goes forward, and then they go on the accelerator again, and then that guy flies out the back of the truck and goes through the windscreen of the car.
lands on the Jeep. Yeah,
Yeah, just details like that. I just thought, wow, this is brilliant. Yeah, it's just moments like that, and of course the famous moment during the basket chase where the swordsman appears, and they show that clip ad infinitum now, but that was just so unexpected and so funny the first time you see it. Yeah, just full of wonder. And then the Indiana Jones theme just imprinted on me. And I think did you watch it with Eric
yeah, we
last year?
watched it a little over a year ago.
Yeah, because I think I was watching and commenting, and because Eric said, you know, when he boards the submarine and they see that it's Indiana Jones on the submarine, that version of the Raiders March, Eric said that's his favorite version of the Raiders March in any of the films up to that point.
David brings up the shootout in Marion's bar. It mentions the sound effects. I'm still kind of wondering if John Williams wrote a score for that scene and they just decided not to go with it.
I was about to mention that because I think it works brilliantly without score. With the amount that's going on, I think maybe if you had score, I don't know if there was a score to it, would it been too much? What do you think?
I don't know. That's like the age-old question, you know, between the sound effects guy and the score people. Like, who's going to get
Yeah,
center stage?
yeah. Maybe they just thought that, you know, the sound of gunshots, and because there are a couple of quiet moments during that as well,
Yeah.
where they're being choked and just, you know, the sound just drops out and it's just a bit of tension. So I don't know. I suppose, you know, until that super duper 3-disc edition of Raiders comes out with all the kind of alternate cues and
Keep talking. I'm gonna grab some.
and missing bits. I mean, that's the holy grail of scores there for the Indiana Jones series, I would imagine. But oh, oh, oh. Is that DC?
That's the 2LP Deca release that came out like 20 something years ago. This is the most complete Indiana Jones available.
Is that the DCC recording? Is it?
Oh yeah, DCC. I always want to
Yeah,
call it Deco, but yeah, DCC.
DCC. Yeah, because that's the one that until they do a, as I say, an all singing, all dancing remastered version. That version is, apart from maybe a couple of extra things in that Concorde set, but that has the only complete version of the Desert Chase.
Yeah.
As far as and I don't know why they didn't use that for when that little box set thing came out that everybody derides.
Well, that box set, it's got a whole host of problems with it, but
I mean,
yeah.
for me as an Indiana Jones fan and an Indiana Jones music fan, I was glad to get that just because it had the expanded Temple of Doom and more stuff that I always wanted on the original soundtrack but wasn't there.
Still missing a lot.
I know,
but you are correct. You are correct. It's more than what we had.
Yeah, and until that day when we do get the stuff that we want and need, that will have to do. But I was going to say, I don't know why they didn't put the full version of the Desert Chase on that set. It never made sense to me. It was like a kick in the teeth for Raiders fans.
And like the only thing that I really listened to since I got this like a week or two ago is record 2, side number 1, because it's got 2 tracks on it. It's got The Well of Souls at 11 minutes 27 seconds, and then that's followed up by The Desert Chase.
I take it Well of Souls goes into the airplane fight, does it?
It does not.
Include that? Oh, it doesn't.
No. The airplane fight is at the end of side 2 on record 1.
All right, okay.
Yeah, this isn't great for order. It's kind of messed up in some places, but
well, so long as the music's there.
I have listened to side 2 of record 2, but I then immediately flip it back to side 1 for the Desert Chase. But I think this is the most complete version of The Well of the Souls that's out there.
Does that have more music than the CD version?
I think DCC? So.
Or is it just the LP version of that CD? I don't have my copy here to hand, so.
It make me wonder. Whoops.
I have an idea it might be just the vinyl version of the. Did John Williams have any input into that, or was that just because usually when they
talked to him on here,
because he tends to when he puts out an album of his music, he tends to chop and change things around all over the place.
He does. I mean, Close Encounter is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
But from a listening experience, the original Close Encounters album is probably one of the best put together.
Yeah, sometimes it works. Sometimes it gets frustrating, especially when I've bought a John Williams album in the past and think, I particularly want to listen to that part of the film, and then you can't find it because it's buried away in a track that you would never have thought of listening to. Are you comparing the two? Are you?
Yeah, trying to. Well, the original release was only 43 minutes.
What, the original?
The original Raiders.
Okay, but then DCC put out their expanded version.
Yeah, and it says the LP has an extended Well of the Soul sequence that was absent on that CD release.
Oh, right, okay. I feel bummed now. I don't have music that you have.
Then the Well of the Souls track on that box set is only 5 minutes 28 seconds.
Yeah, well, as you say, that box set has quite a few problems. And then the stuff they couldn't fit on CDs, they put on a separate CD
Yeah.
with no real explanation of where they appear in films, or it's just a bit of a disjointed mess.
But then on the supplemental disc, there's a track called Uncovering the Ark, which is 5 minutes and 32 seconds. So I think the music's probably out there in different forms, but not in a complete form.
Yeah.
Except for here.
But still, DCC were the first people to put out an expanded version of that.
Okay.
Of the Raider score.
What you get with this that you don't get anywhere else is when Marion is thrown into the Well of the Souls. That's on here. It's
All right.
nowhere. So
that makes you special.
Yeah.
I would have been more modest and go, no, it doesn't.
But yeah,
okay.
I was glad to finally get this. People want some crazy monies for this.
Is it in good order? Is it?
I got no complaints.
Good. Oh, just on a side note, nothing to do with Indiana Jones, but the CD that you ordered, I'm going to send on to you.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel ordered a CD from eBay, and he got it sent to me because it's going to work out incredibly. It's going to be so much cheaper than if the person shipped it out to Daniel. But
yeah,
Daniel,
he wanted 40 pounds to ship it to me.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It doesn't. He's fleecing you with that. It doesn't cost anywhere near that amount. But Daniel asked me to do an unboxing. I don't want to unbox his thing. I want it. It's here. I'll just cover up my address. It's here. It's still unopened, but I want it to remain a mystery until Daniel does his unboxing.
I know what it is.
I know, but don't tell anybody because we'll keep it as a mystery. Because Daniel's ordered a CD. But I won't tell you what it is, and I won't do an unboxing. I might include it in a video before I send it, but Daniel will be able to show you that in 10 days, hopefully. So I'll get that out to you tomorrow.
Okay, there's no huge rush. I've still got 3 or 4 or 100 CDs to send you. So
anyway, back to Indiana Jones.
Erik Woods, who's not here today because he was busy, said DCCLP has complete Well of Souls, CD doesn't. Yeah, we just covered that, Eric. Yeah, we just covered that.
Late to the party, but hi, Eric.
Late to the party. I invited him. He's like, I got work to do. I'm like, work.
Okay. Okay, so how many different versions of the soundtrack do you have for Raiders?
All of them.
So you have the original LP release.
I've got the original tape, LP, and CD. I got the DCC. I've got the CD version of this that came out, and then I've got the box set, and then I've got like the special edition original. It's the original presentation, but they like remastered it and they put it on 2 LPs. Is there another one? Yeah, that's it for Raiders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've got the original LP release, which I got about 4 or 5 years after I saw the film, probably 4 years after I saw it. The only other versions I have are the DCC CD when it came out, and then that box set, the Concorde box set, and that's it. That's the only 3 versions I have of that score.
What about Temple of Doom?
Temple of Doom, I've got the original LP release from '84. I never had it on CD because it was always really difficult to find on CD.
Yeah.
And until that Concorde box set came out, and then that had the extra stuff which made me happy at the time. Until I realised there was lots of stuff that we're missing out on. But yeah, but with Last Crusade though, I had it on tape first, because I was out in the Falkland Islands when that first came out. So I bought it on tape in the Falklands, and then I bought it on LP when I got back, and then I bought it on CD a couple of years later when I got a CD player for the first time, and then the Concorde set.
And then Last Crusade.
That was Last Crusade.
Oh, we do. Okay. What was that other one they made? Crystal Skull.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I've only got that on CD. Well, I've got 2 copies of it because I've got the Concorde box set, which has a copy of it.
It's exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Yeah, there was no extra stuff on it. They just threw in
that's
copy.
lazy. That's lazy.
Yeah. So I mean, I would love to. I would love to have had that expanded, because there's more to that jungle chase that would have made that a slightly meatier.
They chopped it up on that presentation too.
Yeah.
Like 3 different bits. Yeah, well, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, has that ever been released on vinyl, on LP?
Crystal Skull, they did a test pressing, which I have right over there.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
But I think there's maybe 5 or so copies of it in existence. One of them is right.
But there was never an official release that came out.
No, they did the test pressing, and then they decided just not to do it for, I don't know, reasons. But Dial of Destiny is coming out on LP. I think August 9th is the release date. Same with the CD. We're getting a 70-minute presentation, which John Williams composed just over 2 hours worth of music. So we're missing about half the music, which seems to be about par for the course.
I don't understand why it's coming out in August. I don't understand the delay.
It should have dropped this week.
Yeah, because all the Star Wars films, they dropped either in line with the release of the film, or maybe days before. So yeah, Victor's right there. We do need a 2 CD release of Raiders of the Lost Ark
and Temple of Doom and Last Crusade.
Yeah,
let's go ahead and do Crystal Skull while we're at it.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of good stuff that could be included on the Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I thought Crystal Skull had a really good score. I enjoyed Crystal Skull score. Not the presentation we got on the CD. I thought it was like horribly chopped up. I'm like, I don't care for that. But the score in of itself was good.
Yeah, I think people should have maybe pulled John Williams to one side, and while they pulled him to one side, somebody else work on what goes on the CD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not hard. Just release it all in order that it's presented in the film and put a label on it. Now that's all we want, right? I mean, you could just put a plain white label on the cover and just say Indiana Jones Crystal Skull complete. You're done. That's it. That's all. I'm happy.
So the latest film, are you going to go and see it?
Thank you, David. Yes, it really is that simple, isn't it? Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Well, Eric wanted to do a chit chat about it on Saturday. I think we're still good for Saturday. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go see it. And after listening to that botched abortion of whatever the hell it is, I'm like, I have less desire to see it.
Well, I was looking at some comments of somebody was going to see it, or somebody asked a question on Facebook saying, do you listen to a score before you've seen the film? And some people, were saying, yes, I do. No, I don't. And there's some people less than polite about the Dial of Destiny. I'm surprised I didn't see your name in the comments. And then somebody else said, I've listened to it, but I'm not going to make any judgment or comment until I've seen it in context with the film. And by all accounts, John Williams wrote over 2 hours of music for the film. So there's probably a lot of music that we're not listening to on that release. So it'd be interesting to see how it works in the film itself. So I don't think listening to the score and deciding to see the film or not on the strength of the score, that wouldn't be the way I would do things. I would see the film and then make an informed decision. That's just me, though.
Well, cutting and pasting previous bits of scores for a new film, lazy.
I was watching the comments fly back between you and Erik last night, or was it last night? And
Yeah.
I was just thinking, and I thought, well, because for some reason I didn't have the app to open that to listen to that music, so I was thinking, oh, it can't be that bad. It really can it? No, and that's why that's why I eventually chimed in. Look, I'm afraid to listen to it now. And then you texted back saying, well, you probably already have if you heard the other films.
Yeah.
But I was, as I say, I was listening to it today, and yeah, it was cut and paste for that must be the kind of opening flashback scene, or
Okay. Okay. So if the opening, I've heard it's anywhere between 20 to 40 minutes, depending on what source you go with. So let's split the difference. Call it 30 minutes.
Okay.
So if he's in 1944 for 30 minutes in a Nazi castle, kicking ass and taking stuff away from him, that entire piece is probably scored, correct?
I would imagine so.
Yeah, I would imagine so too.
It's Indiana Jones.
So, and they chose to put an 8-minute piece on the soundtrack from that entire thing. And it's cut and paste job from the airplane fight from Raiders, the boat chase from Last Crusade, and the tank chase from Last Crusade. Is the other 10 to 30 minutes just a damn cut and paste job as well?
Well, you won't know until you see the film.
I won't know until I see it. That's right. Oh, thank you, Erik. Erik says, Cinematic Sound Radio Podcast, Erik Woods. Apparently, a lot of the opening is tracked with previous indie scores. Fuck you! That's what I have to say. What the fucking shit? I've heard that Mangold wanted a lot to throw back. What? Wait. Okay. So since Ian was so
somebody
nice
get a fire hose on this man.
Since Ian was nice enough to bring this up, I was trying to avoid it. Someone posted the 1969 track, whatever, on YouTube, and I down thumbed it, and everyone was commenting like, "Oh, John Williams is the most wonderful film composer ever. His name would live on and blah." And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. And I said, I'm like, this score is a botched abortion of a failure and just a colossal disappointment. And I could just hear the gasping across the YouTube from me saying that. And this one guy clapped back. He's like, well, if John Williams, the maestro, wrote it and you don't like it, then you should just go up to him and tell him that you don't like it. I'd love to see you do that. And I clapped back. Well, if I see him, first question out of my mouth is, why the fuck did you use previous score for a new film? And why did you lift a track out of Tintin and drop it into this? Do you think we're too dumb to notice? And then same guy clapped back again, was like, well, I mean, John Williams is really old and he's just past his prime. And, we should just be glad that he scored the movie anyways. I'm like, no. You just said he's the best film composer ever, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying, why the fuck are you using temp tracks and putting it out on a new CD and calling it fresh? And I never said he was old or past his prime. And then the guy's like,
I'm interested, Daniel, if you did get to speak to John Williams face to face, I mean, in the same room, would you talk? Would you say it like you're saying it now?
Yes. Why the fuck did you do this? Yeah.
Right in his face.
Well, no, I don't get right in anyone's face. I'll be like, or maybe I'll be like, dude, come on now. What the hell were you thinking? Did you know this was going on? Was this done in the editing room behind your back? Did Kathleen Kennedy come in and say, let's just use the temp track? Is that what happened? Please give me an excuse to not be mad at you, because right now I'm just kind of mad at you. I realize things can change and you're not involved in it. I know these things go on. I'm looking at you, Star Wars Attack of the Clones, but did you okay this? Did you?
See, what
the fuck are you doing putting Tintin in Indiana Jones?
What
I
I
mean,
think would
was
happen
that
is,
another temp track that they made you use? Please just blame all this on them, because I'll believe you. I will
what I,
believe you until the day I die. Just tell me they did this and you weren't a part of it, and I'll be happier.
see, you're saying all that now. What I think would happen was you get in the room with him, and
Mm-hmm.
you'd be so overwhelmed at the fact you're in a room with John Williams, you take your
Well, it won't
socks
be the
off.
first time.
You take your socks off, and you say, "Oh, Mr. Williams, could you sign my socks for me?" And then you wouldn't get anything out of it.
Nope.
I think.
Nope. Because when I've met him before, I didn't ask for an autograph. I don't want anything from the man except good film music. That's all I want. Do more concerts. How about that? I don't need your autograph. I bought like 3 or 4 of them off eBay. And I'd like to know why the fuck you messed up Dial of Destiny score. Tell me that. Tell me that. That's the only thing I want from you right now. Why the fuck did you mess this up? That's all I need to know. Tell me they did it in post. Please, dear God, tell me it was done in post. And you did not know about it.
I'm sure that's the case.
I hope so. I tell you what, when I talk to Keith Lockhart this December and be like, hey, I got to ask you a question. Do you have any intel on the Dial of Destiny and why the fuck they used old tracks and 1010 in that score and try to pass it off as brand new shit? Glad you find this funny. I find this insulting. This is insulting to all Indiana Jones music fans everywhere. You think we're not going to notice? Like, I was taking a bath when Erik sent that file yesterday, and I was like, dude, thanks. I started listening to it. And I'm like, okay, the prologue's kind of, I'm like, this is 6 minutes. This is kind of long, but I like the horn work in it. That's cool. Helena's theme, I can skip this. I've heard it before. I don't remember it. I don't need to remember it. And then Germany, 1944. Hell yeah! Wait, this is the tank chase from Last Crusade. Is this like a mix-up? And then it went right into the end of the boat chase from Last Crusade. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then it went into the airplane fight from Raiders. I'm like, is this a mistake?
Well,
Is this what Kathleen Kennedy's parents thought when they had her? Is this a mistake?
John Williams has had form in that with I remember Revenge of the Sith, where he was reusing stuff from The Empire Strikes Back in the final duel.
Note for note.
Lifting bits from The Empire Strikes Back score.
Note for note.
Note for note.
Are you sure?
There's a bit where in Empire Strikes Back when Luke and Vader are facing off, and kind of Vader comes out of the shadows and it's and kind of swirling strings in the background. Uses that exact segment in Revenge of the Sith, and I think it's in Battle of the Heroes from Revenge of the Sith. You understand? But so he's had form there before. So I'm just wondering whether he's had direction from James Mangold saying, look, you know, this is Indy in his prime. Can we reuse kind of recognizable thematic material from the previous films? I'm wondering whether that's a specific direction he was given, or was that just something that he thought would be a good idea, and James Mangold just said, well, you know what you're doing, get on with it and do it.
You know, my initial thought is like, okay, they edited it together, they put a temp track together with existing Indiana Jones music.
Yeah.
And you know, and maybe it's like, oh crap, we've got the film done like 4 weeks before it's supposed to come out, but here's the final cut. We just don't have the music for it. John Williams, can you get this done in like 3 weeks? And he's like, I'll do my best. And they like, well, okay, you know what? We'll just leave the temp track in here, and there. Okay. I'm not happy about it, but I can understand it. They've had 3 fucking years to do this film. This was supposed to come out in 2020. It's 2023 now. He's had more than enough time to do this film. And don't tell me it's because, well, he's doing other projects. He hasn't been doing other projects. What, 20 minutes for the Fablemans? What would he fucking do?
Are there any parts of the score you did like? Or is that just kind of the fact that...
You know, I mean, it's like...
Are you just so overwhelmed by the fact of this cut and paste job?
Because I haven't watched all of Crystal Skull.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen I know what happens. I've seen bits and pieces on the YouTube and TV here and there. I know everything that happens, but I've never really just sat down and watched it. But when I was listening to it, I mean that first time, I'm like, wait a minute, that's music from the Map Room. What the hell is this doing in this film? And I was kind of like, but it wasn't in the first track. It was in the meat of the album, and it just lasted for like 2 minutes. I'm like, that's the Map Room. Why is it in here? And I thought, well, maybe they're like looking at a map or something in the movie, okay, whatever. Just move on. This is the main track at the start of the album. It's the tank. I mean, if they had done the Desert Chase, it'd been like, no way. If they had done the Slave Children's Crusade, no. You cannot take that out and use it for something else. You can't take out the Desert Chase and use it for something else. It belongs there. That is what that music is for. Period. You can't recycle it for another scene.
I'd be interested to see how it's actually used in the film, to see what the action is that they thought they needed to use that music for, and how it works with that music as well.
Yeah, I'm just irritated, beyond irritated. But I think maybe if that had happened later in the meat of the album, like there's like, oh, okay, you're kind of taking a piece from the tank scene or the boat scene, and you're putting it here. I'm like, okay. But it's the first main track on the album. It's the opening scene of the movie that we know we're missing at least 20 more minutes of. So it's the rest of the piece, just more recycled Indiana Jones music, and you're just throwing on the top of something new.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether, as you say, maybe there were last minute kind of editing issues, and it was just a time thing. And he thought, well, I haven't really got the time to write new material for this. And as you say, just cut and paste. And well, as Erik said in one of his texts, he says, this certainly isn't reminiscence therapy for, like Solo, when John Powell used kind of snippets from Empire and A New Hope, but it worked in that context. So I don't know.
Since you brought up Solo, which I would not have done, I got perturbed because they were using like the Rebel fanfare and stuff and Solo, and I was just like, no, because this is a different time period. I think they were. I only saw it one time, and I tried to blotch it from my mind. I think they were using like parts from like the TIE Fighter attack and Star Wars. Yeah, I'm like, no.
But I think they were just using that as a motif for TIE Fighters more than anything. And I thought that worked really well.
It sounded like they just cut and pasted it. I'm just like, you bastards, you rotten hell. Erik says the Map Room quote, which is the arc theme, makes continuity sense in Crystal Skull. Okay, that's fine. And they had a little bit of the arc theme in Last Crusade when they're going through the catacombs. That's fine. But it wasn't the meat of that piece.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose
in Temple of Doom, they did the callback from when he shot the Cairo swordsman. I'm like, that's cute. I like that.
I was just about to say that if you're using it as a callback or a reference to something in a previous thing, as a joke or just as a kind of reminder that this has happened before, that's a valid reason for reusing a particular theme or motif, I think, in that context.
James Alexander says, hello, gentlemen. That term might be not appropriate for one of us today. He's just bought Dial of Destiny. He says, nice to see both of us, but we're missing one. Yes, Erik Woods is working, but he's in the chat, which is nice. Eric says they didn't cut the paste and solo that was written and arranged specifically by John Powell to include callbacks. I didn't care for the callbacks in solo. I didn't care for it. I thought what John Williams wrote, The Adventures of Han or whatever it's called, that was fine. And just to name drop, I was there when they did the world premiere public performance of it at the Boston Pops. And I thought, well, okay, yeah, that's kind of cool. I like that. And I saw the movie like a few days later. I'm like, God, this is whatever. Let's move on. But I hated that movie. Anyways, I know some people like it. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It wasn't for me. I didn't care for it.
Okay,
what
well,
were we talking about?
we were talking about how we were talking about the score for Dial of Destiny. I asked it, is there any part of the score that you did like, or is there anything, or the fact that you're so pissed off about certain kind of issues with it that it's kind of soiled your whole view of the score?
It's really it's been so hard for me right now to get past that first part.
We can't see you, Daniel.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting Eric in here.
All right.
So I really did not like the movie.
That was worth the wait.
And I don't know what this guy does, but he's ninja mad. Like,
Okay, so let's kind of make it.
Fuck shit! That score sucks. Fuck shit. Shit. Fuck. Fuck shit. Fuck shit. Fuck. That's my own contribution. Good night, everybody.
That's all we need to say. Mission accomplished.
Hi, Eric.
Oh, how are you? It's great to be back.
Yes.
I honestly thought we were doing this Dial Destiny thing on Saturday, but I guess we are.
We are. I'm still set for that. You know, we'll have actually seen The Abomination by then.
The Abomination. Yeah.
Give it a chance. It might be.
I was
okay.
all
You
about
don't
giving
know
it.
till
I
you
was all
see-
about giving it a chance.
You're not giving anything a chance. You're just slaughtering everybody that's involved with it.
Yeah. I'm giving
You
it a
had an
chance. Yeah, context, like Ian said, context is super important. So I mean, the album is for me, the album doesn't play well at all. But again, it could definitely turn around once you see the film. And I had that same experience with The Force Awakens. I hated my first play of that album. And then I saw the film, heard the music in context, and I went, well, all right, now that makes sense. And it changed my mind completely. But I don't know. This one just feels. I mean, I really enjoyed Crystal Skull when I first heard it. I don't think it's great, but there are amazing moments and more amazing moments in Crystal Skull than there is in this Dial of Destiny score. But I mean, I am also. I heard Germany 1944 and was just. It was mind-boggling that was included in the way that they did it, and it just, you have John Williams, and you have this apparently amazing 25-minute action sequence, and why wouldn't you want him to do something great and original that could be that is part of that movie, and that's what I have issues with needle dropping, not so much with reminiscence therapy, which I thought was amazing in Solo and really handled tastefully, but this one just seems like remember when Williams was needle dropping stuff from Empire Strikes Back and Revenge of the Sith? Just seemed off. Like, why would you do that? And if someone's really in love with the temp track, or from what I've heard is Mangold, just that 1944 sequence is just going to be all callback to previous Indiana Jones scores for some reason, and maybe it was edited to the music. You know, the beats are all there, and I don't know. You just have John Williams. You have him. Why would you just not let him be free and do what he does and does well?
Yeah.
especially for that, which is, I mean, we haven't seen Indiana Jones in almost 20 years. And the first thing we're going to hear musically is, and I mean, we're the only ones that really care about this, but, musically, we're going to hear just callback after callback after callback for 25 minutes. I hope that's not the case, but it's kind of what I've heard. And yeah.
Wait and see.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, it could be totally wrong, and I'm trying to avoid as many spoilers as possible. But
Well, God bless you, because I haven't been able to.
oh yeah, I don't want to. I want to I want to experience it, and then have my own opinions, and not be swayed, and then I can go read and watch all the reviews afterwards and see what they have to say. But yeah, I want to like it. I do. I want to have a good experience. One last time with Indiana Jones if I can.
See, I've never understood that thing, especially with critics will say, I hate this, I don't like it, or I like it, you should go and see this, or I hated it, don't go and see it. And
Mhm.
people listen to what they say and don't go and see it just because somebody's said don't go and see it. So many people will miss out on possibly something they might really enjoy just because they've listened to somebody else's opinion. I mean, listen to their opinion. I love listening to other people's opinions, but it doesn't sway my opinion one way or the other. I'll go and see something and make up my own mind.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I mean, there are definitely critics that I will trust or have trusted in the past. And again, I'm not looking for like an echo chamber, because there's they will like films that I don't like, or vice versa. But yeah, I've never kind of looked at a review and go, all right, well, I'm not gonna see that. And even if it's just absolutely lambasted, it's kind of a curiosity. It's like, how bad can it be? And sometimes I find that those movies that everybody hates, I actually really enjoy. So it also, I mean, it's all taste. It's all it is.
yeah.
And as much as I've put it out there, on Facebook and other message boards, but just my own reviews of this album on my first go. I mean, I'm not saying don't buy it, don't listen to it. There are other people that like it, and that's great, fantastic. Personally, it wasn't for me, and some of it's just some of the decisions were just like mind-bogglingly weird, including I mean, the sound quality of it is really awful, I think.
I mean, I've only listened to, I think, probably about 3/4 of the score now. But I don't know about you, but it doesn't sound like a full symphony orchestra. There's
Yeah.
something kind of
Yeah. It's boxy.
small about it,
Mm-hmm. There's and I don't know what it is. Someone actually said that the Dolby Atmos Apple Music version sounds great, and maybe this is a bad mix down from that. But I have never heard such a prominent timpani that was so in your face. It felt like it was like sitting right beside John Williams while everybody else was performing. And the trumpets, I don't know what it is, but they all sound flat to me. Something's weird about it. And I've
I
gone
thought the
back.
Greatest March sounded very flat.
It's so lethargically slow. It's one of the worst versions I've heard of it. It's just painfully slow, or just not. It just doesn't have any energy. There's a galloping rhythm to it that just keeps chugging along, and it's missing from this. And I'm not sure whether it's the players or whether it's the conducting or what. I don't know.
It's missing that kind of verve and that enthusiasm that I mean, we were talking earlier on before you came on. We were talking about when you and Daniel watched Raiders, whenever it was, over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the comments for that one, and you mentioned that when Indy boards the sub and the guys on the boat see him, and that rousing version of the Raiders March comes in. I remember you saying, that's one of your favorite versions of that march. But
Yeah.
And again, the brass is just yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the brass in the especially in the last Indy score as well, it's okay, but it's like
Yeah.
There's no effort to it.
Yeah, it almost sounds dead.
Yeah,
like they're just sitting back, just playing it, and there's no enthusiasm, which is weird. It's really weird. I don't know what to make of it, but yeah, it's been a strange couple of days trying to digest all this, and I mean, because you get that opening cue, which I think is part of the end credits, even though they call it a prologue to Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny. And
Really,
I think
I wondered about that.
yeah. So
The
there's
prologue is the end credits?
yeah.
That's the end credits?
That's part of the end credits. What I've heard from the end credits is Raiders March, which is what we hear in that New York track. Helena's theme. I don't think it's the Sophie Mutter version. And then it's the concert version, and then it goes into that prologue. And there is no Raiders March callback at the end, like that triumphant ending that we hear. It just ends on a flat note. I don't know whose decision that was either. I don't get it. You know,
But, you know,
Strange, but I'm considering taking it up. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Will this be the last one? Yeah, there are no more Indiana Jones films, James, after this. I mean, if they do, they're going to make it with somebody else, but John Williams is done with Indiana Jones. So, and Harrison Ford's done with Indiana Jones.
Well, Harrison Ford's 80. So.
Yeah, he's a billion years old, and
yeah.
So it'll be done. That'll be it. I mean, whether they make I still think they should make an animated series.
I think that would be good.
Amazing. And
we talked about that last year, didn't we?
It's still a great idea. It's just self-contained adventures, and you can bring back old characters, and you know, imagine the roster of composers you can get for something like that. That would be so.
Can we give Joe McNeely a job, please?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean,
Kevin Kasker.
Oh, get the team from the Orville.
Yeah.
Give Gordy Habb one of them, and I don't know, bring back Frederick Talgorn, and anybody. And it just seems it's so perfect for like proper episodic television, like no continuing storylines. Just Indy and 1932, and what does he do there, and then you can almost make it educational, much like Young Indiana Jones was. Major historic figures maybe show up, and it could be a lot of fun. It could really be a lot of fun. But I have a feeling that they would kind of modernize it, right? With like modern lingo and modern talking and the way they speak. It would be like Star Trek Lower Decks.
Yeah.
And I still think that there's an audience for Indiana Jones. It's not as big as Star Wars, but I think you could have so much fun with it and do it really, really well. Like an old Saturday morning cartoon. That would be so much fun.
Or like just like an old serial. On what the films are based on. Just do it that way.
Yeah. They have a cliffhanger each episode. The final scene ends with the next episode, like they do in the movies, right?
Yeah. And then the opening scene of the next episode is just slightly different to the ending of the previous episode. Yeah.
I think it would be awesome. Yeah. So there's so much potential. But I guess you'll see what happens with this movie. It has to earn back about $6.5 trillion in order to make a profit.
Yeah.
It's a $300 million movie
that they're reporting.
And then does that include all the marketing?
No, that's an additional 150.
Right. It's like they've got to make a truckload back on this. And I don't think there are enough fans of Indiana Jones to.
Crystal Skull could ride at 800 million, 16 years ago? So if it's just at the same numbers adjusted for inflation, it's there. It's fine. But I don't see it doing that.
I don't think Crystal Skull cost quite as much as this one.
It didn't. No.
And it was all shot in America, which I think I'm learning from Frank Marshall on Twitter and Facebook. I think they shot it all in the United States because they all had young children and they didn't want to leave their kids. So they shot everything in the US so they could be with their kids. And I thought that was kind of neat. But I think that what Indy 4 had going for it that Indy 5 doesn't is that it was such a curiosity. And on top of that, you had Spielberg directing, George Lucas was back. And then they're like, oh, the whole team's back. How could they screw this up? There's no way they can screw this up. And it turned out to be quite an underwhelming film. And now you have Indy 5 after all these years with an 80-year-old Harrison Ford. I mean, can you imagine kids lining up at the theater, go, yeah, I want to see Grandpa kick ass and in his Indiana Jones costume, and I don't, it can't be marketed to children. They're gonna try, but I don't see kids. I mean, my kids are coming with me on Friday, but I think they're doing it more for my sake than they are for theirs.
But it's not like Star Wars where you've had TV series, just ongoing comic books and just tons and tons of stuff over the years, which every generation has got involved in.
Yeah.
There's only been 4 previous Indiana Jones films and
Right.
the TV series, which nobody of the younger generation is going to remember anyway. So
Right.
yeah, it doesn't have that kind of built-in memory of history.
Victor brings up something I hadn't thought of, because it sounds like John Williams is channeling John Barry almost.
Oh, well, yeah. Like in the Helena theme.
I don't know. I still can't recall that theme. If you play it for me right now, I'm gonna forget it.
I'm getting that like da-na-na-na-na. That's all I know now. But at least that's in my head now. But I don't know where else it goes. But
I think it's a perfectly pleasant piece of music, but it's just there's no hook on it that goes,
right.
Oh, I like that.
Right. It doesn't kind of build to that big sweeping hook that we get with like Marion's theme, even Willie's theme, even Irina's.
Well, you just haven't watched it in the film. You don't know. How can you know?
Oh, he's off again.
But I think the classic noir orchestrations are quite lovely, and I don't think there are too many composers that could put a theme like that together and make it sound authentic without it seeming cheesy. And it seems like it would fit her character, I would assume. So, and I mean, look, it's wow. It is really, I'm not going to say overused, but it is used a lot in that album. And I can't recall.
Is that why I can't recall half the album?
Maybe, but how many real big heroic indie callbacks did we get from I don't think there were many. I mean, I think there's a couple of map cues on the album, which I'm going to assume, but I don't remember hearing like an action track and then like a real organic placement of that Indiana Jones theme in that heroic sense, where remember in Temple of Doom it was just all over the place and it all felt great. And even though it was somewhat muted in Last Crusade, it still felt forceful and powerful. But I didn't get any sense of that on this album. It was hardly there.
Yeah, I mean, there were recognizable moments of it, but it was just like,
yeah, there really,
there was no kind of,
which is really strange. And I don't know whose decision is that one. I don't know.
But again, this is only 70 minutes. There's at least another 60, 70 minutes we haven't heard. They just did a piss poor job of deciding what's going to be on the soundtrack.
I don't know. I mean, he has a new music editor. Well, new. It's been 16 years since Ken Wahlberg retired, and then he's passed away since. I mean, his new music editor, I think the first thing he worked on was Crystal Skull, and he butchered The Jungle Chase.
Yes.
It's really bad. I mean, when you hear the complete, I think we all, I don't know if you all heard the complete for the first time on the DVD extras, because they showed the animatic of the entire Jungle Chase that they put together, and then they had that entire cue from start to finish over top of the animatic, and that's where I first heard the complete cue away from divorced from the film.
Ooh, and I'll have to dig that out.
Yeah, and I mean, there's leaks of the recording sessions and stuff like that out, including there's a really cool alternate version of kind of the last 3-4 minutes of that chase, which is really aggressive and powerful and not as comedic as the one that's in the film. It really has that kind of triumphant march rhythm to it. It's really sensational. It's called Ugh Vines, and it's amazing. It's an alternate version, and if you can hear it, check it out, because it's some really aggressive, powerful action material. Again, something that we don't really hear in this Dial of Destiny score. Nothing that's really just like really powerful and edgy. I don't know. but again, we'll see. Got to hear it in the movie and see how it works.
Yeah, and again, the CD is only going to be what, just less than an hour and 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and there's, by all accounts, a lot more music in the film. So.
And there's 2 tracks that are taken up by a concert suite of Helena's theme, right?
Yeah.
It's just
One would have been more than sufficient.
Yeah, but we had to put Sophie Mutter in there.
Good old Sophie.
Good old Sophie. I mean, Michonne Murphy does her no favors with that recording at all.
I haven't listened to it all the way through, the Sophie Mutter one.
Oh,
so.
Good for you. She's really sinking that bow in and just grinding hard on those strings. I'm like, man, stop being so aggressive. Holy crying out loud. So, yeah. Oh, well.
Welcome, Sound Engraver. I think most of the swearing has passed at this point in the show. So
No, it fucking hasn't.
Oh, man, that's funny. Is the indie franchise under the Disney umbrella now? Yes.
Yes,
it is.
Yeah. George Lucas doesn't own any of it. I'm also curious, and don't tell me, Daniel, if you know. I want to know whether it's the Disney logo at the beginning of this movie or whether it's going to be the Paramount Mountain.
Well, I've read somewhere online that it's not the Paramount logo, and there are no Paramount logo shenanigans at the beginning.
Because it would make sense if they went from the Disney castle to this Scottish castle that they have at the opening, which would be kind of fun and neat. And if that's the case, great. But if they don't do a logo to, a match cut, like, then why are you even making this movie? Come on, man. There are certain traditions. I'm also curious about bugs.
Everybody slammed the gopher one at the beginning of Crystal Skull, but I really quite like that.
Yeah, it was kind of a neat little gag. But that's the whole point. It's a gag. It's a neat gag. It's like James Bond. Maybe not James Bond. I'm trying to think of another movie that does this, or it's like I said, it's a very traditional.
Like a trademark at the beginning. Yeah. I mean, you do the gun barrel at the beginning of James Bond.
Yeah.
When I first saw Casino Royale and then the follow-up were Skyfall, and they didn't use the gun barrel at the beginning, I was like, that's not quite right.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
James Alexander says Marion's theme superb, one of the best. Yes, I think that's my favorite theme in the entire Indiana Jones catalog.
Yeah. I've said this before, but I prefer Willie's theme.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I love that.
My favorite rendition of that one is when the second tumble from the dinghy off the mountain, and he's using that descending motif, which is Willie's theme. It's like, oh, that's unbelievable how good that is. Yeah, it's Temple of Doom is just on a whole other level. Just
it
just keeps getting better and better every time I hear it, every time I see it, every time I talk about it. I was just recently on a podcast that just got published talking about the movie. I love it. I love it so much. And that score is just ferocious.
Love that score.
Like, I don't know what drugs John Williams was on, but man, I have never heard French horn writing that good. I mean, he did, but I mean, for action material and everything he was doing for the horns. I mean, the horns just must have bleeding lips. It's crazy. It's crazy how insane that is, especially from such a humble man like John Williams. He just wrote so much violent, crazy music.
What he would call it bellicose music,
right?
But he does it brilliantly when he just lets rip. It's just
it's on. Nobody else can
glorious.
Even match it. Yeah.
I think we spoke about it last year sometime. We were talking about the Temple of Doom, and I saw him interviewed somewhere, and he was talking about the opening to The Last Crusade. The whole chase on the train, and he's played at a concert, and he says, there are about 60 sync points during that where you have to, hit certain things, and that's one. He said that's one of the most difficult bits of action writing he'd done. And I was thinking, well, what about, the Temple of Doom? There's, especially, when Indy's fighting the guards up on the walkways, and the music it plays as wonderful music, but it hits with each punch, and it's just, that must have just been a mathematical nightmare to write.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
I agree. Like there's so many tonal shifts. Like after the guard has been done away with, Indy's escape from the
conveyor belt.
He's not on the conveyor belt anymore, but he's up on the scaffolding.
He's been lifted up onto the
and his escape from the scaffolding is just absolutely nuts, because every time a guard shows up, Williams hits a stinger, and then there's a change in tone and a change. And, but Indy's theme is always playing whenever he does something heroic. Then, of course, there's a cut to Shorty, Short Round's theme, cut to Willie's theme, cut to Indy, whatever. And it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. But the thing is, it's such great music.
Yeah.
Whoa. There aren't many composers that can do that. And some will just do like a build up, stop, a little bit of silence, now onto something else, where Williams is just continuously moving that music along, and that's a skill. I mean, to hitting sync points is one thing, but then hitting those sync points and then just continuing on with your music, and continuing with the action, I don't know how he puts that together. And in a day and age without computers, and how he hears that in his head, and like that's the other thing. I mean, he doesn't hear this music until he gets on the soundstage, which is bananas. I mean, that's the gift that composers have, I guess, where they're able to hear that in their head and orchestrate for it. And when you look at that Empire Strikes Back documentary where he's talking about, the celestes are going to do this, and then the strings are going to do this, and then trumpets will do this, and we'll have a blah 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 here, and he's just playing piano, but he hears all the instruments separately. It's bananas, and that's a gift to watch and see and hear.
Imagine him playing that for a director, and saying, right, and the director's like, yeah, okay, I'll take your word for it.
Right? You could trust the director's hat back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I like those themes. Good. I'll see you in 4 weeks.
But isn't that's what we wanted with this film? All of us, we've been sitting for like 3-4 years since we heard they're going to do new Indiana Jones. We're like, John Williams is coming back. Yeah. All we cared about, really, let's be honest, we don't give a damn about the film. We just want a good score. That's the most important thing for everyone on this video, right? Am I right? The number one thing.
I would like both. I want both to work together and be happy.
If you can only have one.
Sure.
The
John
score.
Williams is always music is almost always the best thing about any film, like whether it's good or bad, right? You can always count on the music of being hopefully.
And you were not expecting that cut and paste job.
No, it's jarring for us fans, because we know. I bet you $100. I won't even bet it's for sure. I can go talk to my wife and my kids after the film is done and say, that Germany sequence, did you notice anything weird? And they'll be like, no.
I don't know. It was in Germany.
It was, well, not that. It's just like, did you notice all the tracks from Last Crusade and Raiders? They'd be like, no. Unless maybe if we do a watch of all 4 films from now until Friday, maybe my son had been, when he was really young, was in tune to that sort of stuff, and I forgot which. It was a James Horner score, and he'd watched it and he goes, hey, isn't that from such and such? And then he was also hearing callbacks in the Star Wars prequels. He's like, wait, hold on a minute, that was from that movie. How come it's in this movie? So, but that's when he was young. I don't think he cares now, but I'm sure if we watch the movies now, 48 hours away from going to see it on Friday, they might pick it up, but it won't be something as distracting to us.
I must admit, I always recognize, bits from other films. I remember you sharing on Facebook, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, it was Peter Griffin doing The Last Crusade. But I knew every note of that, and I played some, look at this, and they were like, I have no idea what that is.
I don't get the joke. No, and that's who we are as film score fans. Like, we pick up on that sort of stuff, and it annoys the bejesus out of us whenever it happens. I think it just annoys. I think it annoys us more because we know what John Williams is capable of and know what we could have got in the replace of just needle dropping stuff. I mean, when I think about, oh my God, there's a 25-minute opening sequence with a young Indiana Jones. Like, wow, how much fun could that be? And how much fun could that be musically? And some of
And
the other rumors.
The only thing I was looking forward to about this film, I'm like, man, like the first 30 minutes. Come on.
Should be awesome. Right. Then that, and I was like, where's that 25-minute sequence? Like when I saw the track listing, I'm like, where's the 25? Where's it say train chase at night in Germany, 1944? Where is all this?
Like on the train, in the train, you know, stealing the dial,
right.
You know,
I mean, I know we didn't get everything from the young indie adventure in Last Crusade on the first release, but at least we had an 8.5-minute cue that kind of started and finished at a specific point, and it felt organic and it was wonderful to have. At least we had that. But I mean, how long is Germany in 1944?
It's about 6 minutes, I think, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was like 6 minutes and 20 seconds.
Or 43.
That was it. Oh, the prologue.
The prologue is 6 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, 6. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't see any like 8-minute desert chase, or it's really.
It's right here. It's right here.
Oh, by the way, Ian, in one of our chats, I put the unused the track that didn't make it to the CD on DCC, but it was on the LP. Somebody cleaned it up for me and sent it to me, and so
all right,
it sounds the sound quality matches the mastering that's on the CD, so it'll.
All right, I've got it there. Thank you very much.
Just plop that in, and now you have everything.
Thank you very much.
Let me hit these 3 comments real fast. David says it's such a treat having the 3 of us back together again. Yes.
Thank you, David.
Bush McFadden says, I don't have to see the movie to get the soundtrack. Damn straight. Thank you. I love you. Adding you to my Christmas list. Let me know what you want. James Alexander says he wondered if John Williams composes in his head or at the piano. He does both. He sits at one of his grand pianos with pen and paper. He uses pen because that way he has to think before he writes it down. I think he got that from Bernard Herrmann. Bernard Herrmann said, write in pen. Mm-hmm. It'll cut down on mistakes because you'll have to think before you write it down. And
yeah, he's one of like 1 or 2% of composers that are still writing with pencil.
Yeah, not using computer.
It's everything has to be done in the computer just because of the nature of filmmaking now. And John Williams still, though, and that's probably why he doesn't work as much. I mean, he doesn't spit out demos. He will not do that. That's not the way he works. And but nowadays, if you're going to get into this industry as a composer, that's why most of them have massive teams. You can't get it all done in that time that you have. Like, let's say you have 6 weeks to write a score. In that time, that used to be just writing and getting the soundstage. You now have to come up with mock-ups that sound almost as good as the live performance, send that off to get approval, then you get it back with all the changes, and then you finally hit the scoring stage. But you've lost a whole chunk of time of that creative process, making demos that sound amazing. And it's not fair. It's not fair to composers to do that. And directors and producers just have to have a better imagination. Really. And they also need to be trusting of their composers. Composers aren't there to ruin the movie. And sometimes they might not get it, but that's on you as a director and a producer to communicate properly to a composer exactly what you need. You can stay on them, but I don't, it's just so many fingers are in this pie now, right? With movie making, where music's the last thing. Is music going to make or break a movie?
I mean, that was the reason Jerry Goldsmith had problems with Ridley Scott, because they didn't talk, they didn't discuss things. And then Jerry Goldsmith had a working relationship with Paul Verhoeven that was just, they were talking all the time.
Yeah.
And it produced some wonderful music.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and if you haven't heard the Jerry Goldsmith Odyssey episode with Paul Verhoeven, check it out. It is an amazing insight into the creative process and the collaboration between a director and a composer. And they were fighting. Like, Basic Instinct was just like, Jerry couldn't get that theme. Couldn't until Verhoeven heard a snippet in a cue in about the middle of the film. And he's like, there it is. That's it. It's right there. And that's part of the collaborative process, right? And Jerry's like, oh my God, yeah, you're right. There it is. Boom. And then the rest of the score just kind of just.
Yeah.
But you just can't be on them constantly and going, oh yeah, that note at blah 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 blah. It doesn't sound good in the mock-up. Geez, man, stop. That's not going to make or break your movie. Stop it. Communicate properly, please. I just don't understand how people can't communicate. I mean, I know directors can't communicate musically. That's a tough thing for them to do. But man, give them the feel. Even give them some examples, and not so much of their own music as a temp as well. It's like give them classical examples or whatever. But like Bruce Broughton once said, he was working on Tombstone and he heard the temp track and it was all Silverado, and he said, "Man, that music is incredible, but it's so wrong for this movie." So, yeah, it's
That's the thing about the Tombstone score. If you listen to it not knowing what film it's from, you wouldn't really think it was a Western.
Right.
It's such a non-Western score, but it's fantastic.
And the fact that he wrote that in 2 weeks too is crazy. And
really,
I think it was recorded in 2 weeks. He was writing, recording, and they were taking those recordings from what I can remember. I think they recorded it in London with the Symphonia of London, and they were mailing that back to the dub stage, I think in America. I might have my story wrong. I know Bruce Broughton talked with Jason Drury on my podcast, and he talks about Tombstone, and it was a quick turnaround. Like they were still recording while they were mixing, because Goldsmith was supposed to do that film, and couldn't do it for some reason. And Broughton had about 2 weeks. I think he had the same amount of time on like Lost in Space. That was a quick turnaround too.
I must admit, when I first got the score to Tombstone, because I saw it in whatever year, 94. I loved the score, and then I managed to track down a copy of the CD, and I think it says special thanks to, and it had, I think Jerry Goldsmith was mentioned in the thanks, and I always wondered for about a year after that why. Then I found out that he did, because Goldsmith recommended Bruce Broughton to do the score, didn't he?
That's right. Yeah. I'm wondering what was Goldsmith working on at that time? Did he have another commitment?
94.
Or was he working on First Night? I think at that time he had to go and
possibly, and that was a
94, 95, 96 were quite the productive years.
Oh yeah. I mean, he had similar problems Goldsmith with on Babe. They were just not getting him and the filmmakers weren't getting along. And he then had to go and work on something else, and I think that might have been Congo. Yeah, maybe that was too early. Anyway, he had to go work on something else. He had another commitment. That's what usually happens, right? You hear about composers who are on a project and get rejected. It's just, I had another commitment, and this is taking too long, and we're butting heads, so find somebody else. So, yeah, but Tombstone is, I mean, for the short amount of time, the sheer amount of brilliant music that was written for that is just mind-boggling. Same thing with Lost in Space. I cannot believe how good that is for the short amount of time he had to write. But even Giacchino said when he was doing Rogue One, he's like, all I had to do was write. All I could do was write. I couldn't second guess myself. I wrote this cue. I'm like, yep, good. Let's move on to the next one. He had no time to think. And I think he says that's some of their best music is written that way, because you're not overthinking. You're just, it's on the page.
Yeah, I mean, I can't write music. I don't understand music, but I would imagine that it's the same with writing. You know, if you write something and then go back and read it again and start changing things, and you're never going to finish it. You just write something, leave it, done, move on to something else.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got time at the end, look at it. Sometimes if you look at it, with a bit of distance, you think, oh, that's actually good.
Right.
Just leave it.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's the same for any sort of creative thing that you do. I mean, I'm an editor, and there's some things I've slapped together, and I'm like, oh man, this can't be great. But then you hear the feedback. It's like, oh, I cried when I saw that, or this is the most amazing thing in the world. And it's like, yeah, you leave it for about a month or so, come back to, and you're like, you know what? That wasn't that bad. And some of the things that I've overthought, which is something I'm working on like right now, I think it's good, but I'm not sure, and it probably is going to go through a whole, line of changes because I'm just overthinking it because I want it to be amazing. It's a very big project I'm working on, but it's just, yeah, those are the ones that frustrate you the most and don't really turn out the best. That's something that's just like fast.
Yeah, and I suppose with editing as well, if you've got tons of coverage and really an infinite number of ways you can put stuff together.
Yeah, and that's what I'm having a problem with.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. But I suppose you have to think. You have to right. That's it.
Yeah. Because I'm
Leave
working on. I had shot 4 days in New Orleans with the RCAF. I've got some great fighter plane footage, tons of it, but there's so much on the cutting room floor, and I'm like, which one is the best one? And they're all very similar, but it's like, is this one better than the other one? But I've shot 4 days for a 5-minute video. I mean, hours and hours of stuff that's never going to be seen. And I'm second guessing myself, going, okay, this image of him taxiing. What about this one? How about that? Which one? And I got so many hero shots of like pilots walking up to the plane. It's like, which one is the best hero shot? Am I going to get the right one? It's just pick one, man.
So close to it, though. You get so close to it that you just, and you think, well, yeah, that's good. Then you look back and you think, oh God, it's 13 hours long. So
yeah. So, all right.
Anyway, Daniel, I hate to say this, but I'm gonna have to drop out and leave you two to chat, if that's all right.
I understand.
But we'll do this again soon, I hope.
I hope so too.
It was great to see you both, and I hope Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is going to be an enjoyable film. I hope so. That's the way.
When are you watching it?
It'll probably be I'm off next week, so it'll be next week at some point when I can fit it in. So, but it'll probably be later on next week. But good luck with watching it. I hope it's not too much mature.
Yeah.
But I will watch your broadcast.
We'll try to keep it spoiler free, right?
With bated breath. Yeah. Try.
I don't know about spoiler free.
I don't mind if you spoil things for me. I'll be watching for the fireworks.
Yeah.
And the swearing.
I hope it's positive.
Yeah.
I hope it's
so do I.
2.5 hours long. Like, holy cow.
But most reviews say it zips by fairly fast. So I hope.
Which I'm looking forward to.
So.
Yeah. I just want a fun time at the movies. That's all I care about. And not kind of overthinking bad special effects or cheesy dialogue or whatever. Like, that's the type of stuff that just throws me out of a movie. If it all seems organic, then I'm in for the ride. So yeah. And I hope we have a positive conversation on the weekend, but we'll see. We'll see. So. Yeah. But I'm going to jet off too. And, but it was great to see you, Ian. Great to see you, Daniel. The first part was super entertaining. I love it. But
let me go take some more pain pills.
Are you going to try listening to it again?
The score?
The score.
Yeah, I'm going to sit down and go piece by piece and just write like a little note, and I'm going to do a video and just go through the entire thing.
That's cool.
So I need to finish listening to it because I got about, as I say, 3/4 of the way through. I'm on what's this? What track's that? Archimedes' Tomb is the track I'm listening to at the moment.
Once you get to Battle of Syracuse, that's probably one of the most interesting cues on the entire album. It's really, really neat. I want you to tell me whether you hear Maurice Jarre's Ghost at the beginning.
Okay.
If you can, go back and listen to one of the action tracks that he composed for Ghost. It's similar, but also the Alex North vibes that are in it are amazing, or really, really, really amazing. So, but it's a really cool cue. It's probably the most unique, I think, out of the entire score.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just too short. It's so short. It's like 3 minutes long, right?
There were a lot of tracks. I'm like, it's over. It ended.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it had an actual ending to it. It was just like,
they all seem to be fairly short tracks, most of them, didn't they? So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Bizarre. when they just kind of like float on by and they don't make a. Yeah, it's
Anyway.
a strange album. Anyway, all right. Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
Fun. We'll do it again soon, and talk to you on Saturday, Daniel.
Are you good for 12 o'clock your time?
I should be.
All right, you can just message me and
Okay.
I'll work around your schedule.
All right. We'll do.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Good to see you again, Ian. Don't be a
Hold on.
You
stranger.
too, Daniel.
Potatoes.
You too, Eric.
All right. See ya.
Love you both. Bye. I'll speak to you soon, Daniel. Sorry I had to drop out.
It's okay. I understand.
I've got some things to do, so but I'll speak to you soon, and thanks very much for allowing me to do this with you again. I enjoyed it.
You're always welcome. You know,
And as I say, I'll get this off to you tomorrow.
there's no rush. Like I got like 100 CDs to send you. I just haven't done it yet. You laugh. You laugh. But
I'll drop you a note with this as well.
what would you do if you open up a box with 100 CDs in it?
Well, I'd poop myself, and in the best possible way. It'd be a good poop.
Be like, well, I don't have to buy anything for a while.
No, but yeah, I enjoyed this. Thanks very much. It was lovely to speak to you again. I hope you get your back sorted out. And
It's really more like my neck. So
okay.
it's pretty high up here. It's like C5 and C6. So,
But more important, I hope you enjoy the film when you see it, and I hope the John Williams concert is everything that you want it to be.
I'm very excited for that concert because I sent you the recording of his last concert with them, right?
Yeah.
With Marine Corps Band. They're phenomenal. I'm just like, God. And they had a really good selection as well. I'm like, if they just do this again.
Yeah, I mean, I've been following them for years on YouTube, and I love them. I think they're a great band, but they're a very orchestral band as well.
Yeah, I'm worried about the 2-hour flight there, the 2-hour flight home, the hour cab ride from Dallas to the Kennedy Center, the 2-hour concert because sitting down is like the worst.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I don't know what an airplane's going to do, but there's either have the surgery next week and miss the concert or live with pain for another 4 weeks. It's an easy decision.
Oh, it is.
You know, 288 disc to see John Williams. I'll take that. So
anyway, good luck with everything. Good luck with the film, and I'll speak to you soon, Daniel.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Take care, mate.
And everyone in the chat, if you're still here or still watching in the future time, comment below with your thoughts on fuck Dow Destiny. Tell me your favorite Indiana Jones score. That's a real Indiana Jones score. Temple of Doom, Raiders, Last Crusade, whichever one you got in the CD player at that current moment in time, which is probably what I would go with. What's your favorite themes? Most memorable moments from Indiana Jones. You have the action figures. Talk to me, people. I want to hear things. I want to hear stories. I want to hear your stories. Share them in the comment section. As always, the dots don't shop. Keep listening to great film music, and we will see all of y'all very soon. Bye.
Bye.